GM Studios in Florida, it's the Siskel and Ebert 500th Anniversary Special. Television moments and unforgettable imitators. Here are Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert.
Good evening. It's our 500th show, so we've left our balcony and we're appearing in front of a live audience for the very first time.
You know, the tables are really turned with this live audience. There seems to be something almost unnatural about critics being up on a stage. I mean, what if they don't like us? I think we got to start right out here and break the ice and make sure everybody feels right at home and in any confusion that might be in your minds. Now, how many people here think that my name is Gene Siskel? Aren't you? And I said, no, I'm Roger Ebert. And they said, oh, yeah, you're the other guy. And I said, no, he's the other guy.
We're calling this our 500th anniversary special because, believe it or not, we've done about 500 shows together over 14 years. And we're going to be looking both at our history and, more importantly, at the recent history of movies. However, since we've lasted this long, and nobody's more amazed about that than we are, let's begin by taking a look at just how we got started.
Days, all either one of his ever appearances, we look just a little ill at ease.
And in this movie, his name was Spiegel, which is Swedish for mirror.
In an interview earlier today in our newsroom, Jessica Lange told us she was really roughed up while working on this mechanical monster movie.
Little did either one of us know that we were about to be given the opportunity to work together, and for that matter, little did either one of us desire that.
If Mr. McMurphy doesn't want to take his medication orally, I'm sure we can arrange that he can have it some other way.
It was the fall of 1975, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was premiering when Chicago's public broadcasting station, WTTW, decided there should be more talk on TV about the movies.
Two film critics talking about the movies, and this is Roger Ebert, the film critic from the Chicago Sun-Times. And right over here is Gene Siskel, the film critic from the Chicago Tribune and Channel 2 News.
The first title of our show was Opening Soon at a Theater Near You. Most people probably don't remember that title, but we do.
Coming to town, and also maybe take you behind the scenes and show you a little bit about the movie business.
Right, tonight...
Roger and I were stuck in a couple of director's chairs like butterflies pinned to the wall of a laboratory. We weren't always good at finding the right camera.
And as we can see in this clip, the chief is not exactly a natural athlete.
Home took us out of those director's chairs and put us right into the balcony seats that we've never left.
When we began this show, it was on not once a week, but once a month. So I would meet them once a month. We would get together to have lunch to discuss the show. And they would argue about everything, because each of them was afraid that the other one was going to get ahead of him. So we would argue they would argue with each other about where we were going to have lunch, picking out the restaurant, flip a coin to see who would get to go first at the beginning of the show.
Thea also introduced us to a series of animal partners. It's time for Dog of the Week, the regular feature on this show where each of us picks the week's worst movies.
That's right, Gina. My dog this week is a fish called Piranha.
Well, now, continuing on the subject of bad movies, here's Spot the Wonder Dog, the cinematic canine who can spot a bad flick easier than he can find a fire hydrant.
Oh, here he is,
My
Gene.
goodness.
Sparky the Wonder Dog leaping into the balcony. Hold on a minute, Gene. Here he is, Zeke the Wonder Dog, bounding into the balcony, jumping into the chair, sitting down, doing his trick, and
leaving it. A decade later, the dogs are gone. The show's title has changed a few more times, but people are still asking us a lot of questions about this little show.
Where did the thumbs idea come from?
Boy, I don't remember.
I came up with that idea. And before me, the Roman.
Why is the show Siskel and Ebert? And by the way, will it ever be Ebert and Siskel?
No.
You've signed on to Siskel.
Longer. E comes before S in the alphabet. I've got the Pulitzer Prize, and yet it's called Siskel and Ebert. And if you want to know why that is, you can ask Siskel.
Flip of the coin. It was a flip of the coin. I would have been more than willing to have it be Ebert and Siskel, but it will never be that way. I think we really should stick to tuxedos. Our clothes have really been bad over the years. One of the questions we get asked a lot is whether the disagreements we have on our show are for real, and I can promise you that they are absolutely for real.
And one of the greatest pleasures of doing the program is to get into a fight with Gene about a movie we both have really strong feelings about.
The problem
is bathroom humor, Gene.
And it's very funny.
Humor.
It's very funny bathroom
not
humor.
That. If you think it's funny,
Yes,
then maybe you need to grow up along with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Roger,
you can
that's
both go
right.
to Richard
That's
Pryor
right.
and learn how to be a little more mature.
No, let me tell you, it is very, very funny. Oddly, people who haven't seen this film are going to agree. Gee, Roger's right. It should be clean. It should be clean.
No, I
you
didn't
really
say
played
it should
to the
be
audience.
clean. I'm not playing to the audience, and I'm not saying it should be clean. I have nothing against four-letter language.
Right.
I love it when Richard Pryor uses it. Richard Pryor uses it as poetry. Eddie Murphy uses it as a bludgeon.
She comes to that camp naive, and she grows up at the end of the film.
And that's
I
the
like
cliche,
it.
Gene. That's a cliche.
Not the way she plays it.
For it.
Not the way she plays it.
It's just all by the numbers.
Not the way she plays
all
it.
by the numbers. The dancing is good. The plot.
She's good. Tell me she's not good.
She's okay.
I think more than okay.
What about the human words and the way
What about the excessive fighting? What about the excessive fighting?
Excessive fighting. This is the world that they're talking about here. Nevertheless.
Reconsider your vote,
Nevertheless, I
please.
won't reconsider my vote. Nevertheless, I felt it just on the bottom line, it was worth recommending.
Oh, that's because you're just saying apes and a woman are there and they look pretty.
That's what you're saying. I think I would have found a more elegant way to phrase it, but nevertheless.
This is not a simple mad slasher
Okay, then why
movie.
is it a comedy?
Because he wants to set you up. He's a director, and he wants to play you like all the directors, the great directors want to do. He wants to play you like a piano, which is have you smile and then swing you right into some depression.
Yeah, well,
I think he got
somebody
you.
wants to play me like a piano, he better get some music that's worth listening to.
Did you like the movie or not?
No.
But you liked the little dialogue so much better.
I'm not wrapping myself in the flag of children. You're wrapping yourself in the flag of the sophisticated film critic who's
boredom.
seen it all.
No, boredom. Boredom with
I
Benji
don't
running.
think that any child is going to be bored.
Really in the holiday season this year. You're giving out gift reviews. So if a friend asks me to see it, I'd say see it, but be prepared to at the end.
If you can leave after an hour and 20 minutes, you'll think you walked out of a great movie. I'm about all of the movies, but actually we probably disagree less than a third of the time. The way it works out, some movies are pretty clearly, obviously good, so we agree on those. Some movies are pretty clearly, obviously bad, and we agree on those. So that leaves only the movies in the middle for Gene to be wrong about.
We don't agree to disagree. Those verbal fights just happen, and people do remember them. And because of that, we have become the subject of some pretty funny parodies.